Hello again. This time we will be talking about warfare. So let's look at the little war we have going on over here. So this is the Ottoman-Albanian War. If we click on this, we'll get a brief overview of what happened. So this is our side. This is their side. This will fill up a bit when we have allies and they have allies. Looking at this, so here's the war goal. Or this is our caucus belly rather. This is our justification. So we are saying this used to be our land, we're now taking it back. And that is essentially reconquest caucus belly. Our war goal is to take Albania. So this, they only have one land, which is fine. In other wars you fight, the enemy will have multiple chunks of land. So you want to occupy what you're wanting to take over. So let's say if we wanted war with Serbia here, and we wanted Raska, we would want to conquer this as soon as possible, because that will increase our war score here. And if you notice, when you mouse over this, it tells you how the war score is. So the defender is controlling Albania, which gives them 6 war score. However, we won a battle, and we're blockading their port here. So this gives us a plus 25 to them. So we're essentially blockading their entire nation, which is why it's such a large score. And over here is the war enthusiasm. So this is how likely they are to basically accede to our demands and how much they want to keep fighting. This is the war exhaustion between the two. So remember, war exhaustion gives you negatives the longer the war goes on. Theirs is quite high already. This is their stability, and then finally this is how much they're blockaded. So we're pretty much blockading all their trade, and they can't do anything to us. This is a brief look at the militaries. So we have 27,000 total troops and some ships. They have one little transport boat and no army, so they're pretty much hosed. And finally, this is an overview of how many battles you fought and any score changes that resulted from it. So let's look at Albania. This is the siege view here. Notice you can go to your armies, or you can go to the province. But the siege view is the default view when something's under siege. This is showing us that the morale you don't have to worry about too much unless you're trying to assault them, which we don't want to do because a lot of us will die. If they have very low amount of troops, like say a couple hundred, you could try assaulting them with a superior force, but normally you're going to take a ton of damage from trying to assault the castle. So this is how many troops they have, which all it really tells you is you need to have more than this in order to siege an area, which is why we have 3,000 and they have almost 2,000. This is the fort level. The higher this is, the harder it is to siege, and this is their our siege ability essentially. You don't have to worry too much about this. So down here is the phase modifier. So as this increases in time, you'll notice this little green bar right here, so you can see it on the map. As this gets higher, there's another one of these dice rolls, which I believe is like 1 to 14 or something like that, or 0 to 14 maybe. And every time you roll it, it adds up these modifiers and then these negatives into a dice roll here. That gives us a chance of having something to happen. So right now there's a 35% chance that they will give up at the end. So this is for leaders. So if you're leader, which let's make one. So if you look down here on the military view, we're going to go over this a bit more later. Well, hell, we'll go over it now. So these are your units. Shows you the different units and the different tech levels you need to increase them. This right here is your cavalry, and then obviously your artillery, which we don't even have any yet, and your naval units. This shows us our tradition. So this goes up to 100, and it decays every year, so it always goes down. However, if the longer you fight battles, the higher this goes. So at 100, your units have much more morale, your manpower recovers faster, and your siege ability increases. In addition, and most importantly, you get better generals. So if you have 100, you get much better generals than you will now at 30. Naval tradition operates the same way. Notice it also mentions your max morale here. And these are your force limits. So this is a soft number. Essentially, it costs more money when you have more troops after this limit. So it's a certain set rate, which is it's a percentage of what the initial cost is. So if you try to build a unit, notice it costs 10 here. I think it's like 10% a year or something like that, but it is a certain percentage of this unit. So let's go back. So, however, once you go past this number, it increases much faster. However, if you have a ton of money from trade and you're raking in like plus I don't know, plus 50 or plus 100, you can easily go over your force limit and not have any problems with your nation. So just remember, this is a soft limit. Normally you want to stay about at the limit at all times. Same with your navy. Your tactics reduce the amount of damage you take in combat, which is nice, but it only increases from technology. There's not much you can do about this. Discipline, there's many different ways you can increase this. This is straight up, you do more damage and kill more enemies faster, which means that you can fight larger armies than yourself and murder them. So having a very high discipline, like if you have something like 140%, you can brutally murder pretty much anyone. Defensiveness is how long it takes the enemies to seize your territory. So the higher this number is, the longer it takes them for this number to go up and them to take your territory. And your siege ability is the exact opposite. So it's faster for you to siege their territory. And down here at the bottom, you can make your ruler to command your armies. This is almost always a bad idea because it's usually a higher chance for him to die in battle. However, if you have a really bad ruler, you might want to convince him to lead many armies in battle so you can get rid of him. You did not hear that from me. I would never try to kill off your own leaders. And finally, we have generals and admirals. So the reason why you don't want to keep making these, notice this limit up here. Once again, this is a soft limit, so you can have more. But every time you have more than this max number, it costs one more military power every month. So it's longer for you to get new techs. It's less it takes you longer to get your new military idea here. So normally you want to stay at this max here. There's a few different ideas. So like innovative ideas gives you more leaders. There's one or two other ones, and but really for the most part you don't really want to go over the limit unless you have to, or if you're just swimming in military power, then you can always have more leaders. So we will get one. So this leader is not too horrible. He's pretty crappy, but he gives us +2 shock in battle and +1 siege, so the sieges would actually take less time. So let's give him... So notice the little star here. There we go. Notice the little star, that lets us know that we have a leader on this. And the number of stars, so you'll get usually 1 or 2 stars, maybe 3 stars. That's how good of a leader he is. We'll be moving him over here. Alright, let's finish our war. So these are the random events that pop up. Production. Oh, we never did finish explaining this, did we? So, we don't have our commander over here right now. But this would give a bonus if we did. If we had any siege units, this would give a bonus. If we don't have any ships, this is a negative. So for example, I take this guy and have him leave. Notice the decrease in number here. So now there's a -2. So you want to have any water-based or water touching province here to have ships, at least one, preferably more, to blockade that area. So we just finished our, during that time, we finished this. And the blockade, and the siege is over. So now, if you look at our war score, notice that it's 100%. So we have fully taken all of their land. So now we are going to fully annex it. So with our Reconquest Caucasus Belly, we have gained 2 prestige and suffered 2.4 aggressive expansion. So aggressive expansion, if you notice, the neighbors in particular. Okay, Serbia wants to take all of Greece, which is, they are way out of their league here. But other nations, so notice aggressive expansion -2. So it increases fairly rapidly every year, so you can get rid of it fairly quickly. But it just lets them know that you have some negatives. Naples in particular, they're not very happy with that. And of course, Byzantium and Athens, they don't like us either. But so the more land you take in a war, the more aggressive expansion you'll get from nearby nations. So if you notice way over here, England, it's only a -1. So they very barely care. Scotland doesn't even care at all about what we're doing way the hell over here. So just an idea then of how that sort of thing works. Actually, this reminds me, I never did do that. And they're at war. Okay, whatever. Anywho, so now that our war's done, now it's time to start looking at our other war. So if you remember, or our soon-to-be war, if you remember, we took the claim here for Constantinople. They are now allied with both Bosnia and Serbia, which is still not really enough to do much to us. So we will probably okay. So first up, let's set some rivals. Clearly the Byzantines, if they'll let us. Which, nope, they're too weak. Well, that's unfortunate. We'll probably do the Mamelukes. We'll do these guys. And for some reason they want Aragon, which are way the hell over here. I don't really want to declare war on any of these guys at any time, so whatever. So, moving on to the Byzantines. So that gives us power projection later on. We don't really care too much about this at the moment. Now let's look at declaring war. So we want Constantinople. We will, it's telling us here that since they're Orthodox, we will get plus 25 piety because they're filthy heathens. They're allied with Bosnia and Serbia, so these two right here. And they rule over Athens, which will aid them, which is right down here. If you want a more in-depth look at this sort of thing, especially if you're fighting a large nation, like if you were to fight Austria or somebody else, look at this ledger down here. Not this, click that. You can now look a bit more at how nations stack up. So you can go to the military, armies, and then you can find the country you're looking for. So let's look at Byzantines. So we can see that they have quite a bit of manpower. However, they have a total of 7 units, military units, and that's also at their force limit. So their army is fairly small compared to ours. And then you can look at, you know, all their allies and stuff to get an idea of if this war is going to be in your favor just from the start. This is a lot of spreadsheets and numbers, so you don't have to worry too much about this. But if you're trying to, say, attack Russia, you should probably get an idea of what you're going to be coming up against. So let's get this war started. Diplomacy, declare war. We want to take Constantinople and declare war. So we don't have any allies right now. Actually, I had to start a new game because I got a little lost in here. So Crimea isn't our ally right now, but it's not really something we have to worry about. So we'll attack them, and once again, let's move our ships over here. We can lower the speed. And then, as this is going on, I'm going to try to get rid of the armies of Serbia and Bosnia as well. So note, they're trying to meet up with each other. This lets us know we just won a battle of Raska here against Bosnia. Our battle down here took place relatively quickly due to the fact that we had twice as many troops and a better general. Notice. I'll try to find a way to make this a little so you can see the battle screen. Let's go to the battle. So if you note the negative here, this lets us know that there is a -1. Oh, that's very loud. A -1 to the... Let's lower this audio quite a bit. So we have a -1 from we're crossing a river here. So that reduces the chance of us being successful in battle. Now, they go between two phases, a fire phase and a shock phase. The shock phase uses the fire phase uses a bonus now, so you notice this bonus here, to fire. And however, none of these troops have any guns yet, so this is completely useless. And the second phase will use your shock value. And your maneuver value for your leader reduces the amount of casualties you take. And here we have our discipline. So we do 5% more damage to the enemy than they do to us. This is our maximum morale. So note it's a whole +1 higher. So our troops will last much longer in battle than theirs will. And battles are fought until the morale goes to 0, in which case the enemy runs away or we obliterate them. And then finally there's a dice roll, much like with the sieging, that it's rolled every time, which is a random number between 0 to 9, and that influences how much damage each side does. So we can see here every day how it changes. So we want that battle down here. So note they had quite a bit higher, and we had higher, and now we've pretty much obliterated them. So now we will take some troops. So if you noticed, I probably did that a bit too fast. So this is your army screen. It gives you an overview of what you have here, total number of troops. This lets you split them up just right in half, which is fairly useful. It's also a good reason to try to keep even numbers of troops at all times. This allows you to attach and detach siege units. For example, you can just leave siege units on an area when you're attacking. The only problem is if somebody managed to get some troops down to them, they will obliterate and only siege units. This allows you to detach mercenaries, which we don't have any right now. This allows you to move your troops between ships, transport ships, and and put them back on land. This is how you create a new unit, which is what I did there. This allows you to attach yourself to an allied unit and just follow them around, so you don't have to deal with the military. They just basically take your troops. Usually not a good idea because the computer's fairly dumb sometimes. This allows you to consolidate your units. So right now, if I just wait a while, my manpower will start dropping as they replace all of these troops and bring them back to 1,000. However, if you can also just do this to consolidate all of them, and you'll have less troops overall, but it'll also lower your force limit because you've some of your troops have died. Notice also we have +1 higher force limit now that we've taken Albania. So taking more land and increasing your tax value increases this, or your base tax value. Alright, these are special things you can do. So this allows us to scorch our earth, which is, you can really only do in your own land, but if you're, it vastly increases the supply, or vastly reduces the supply limit, which massively increases the amount of attrition damage they take. So if you're losing a war, and a great deal, and you can scorch the earth behind you, and then if they're trying to siege that land, they'll take massive casualties. This is for killing natives. This is for the forced march ability, which you don't have right now. This allows you to either burn down or take over a colony for the cost of manpower. And finally, if you turn this on, if any rebels pop up, it'll automatically move over to attack them. This is a good thing to use during peacetime. You can just keep an army wherever, and then have that, and they'll just walk over and kill up any rebels they find. So that's enough for that screen. For now though, we want to make a new unit, so we click that, and then we just move over some. So notice I moved over 4 infantry here. If you look at these, so your cavalry, based on what nation you are, but for the most nations, it's about 50%. So if you notice, you can't have more than half cavalry compared to the infantry. So I have 7 here and 3 here. So I would need at least 6 infantry to have enough cover for my cavalry. So I have more than enough. But it's something you need to keep an eye on, because if you have, like, say, if I move all these guys back over, just straight up 3 cavalry, they would get pretty much slaughtered in a battle, a straight up battle, just by themselves. So, moving along. Let's split this up. So if you notice, I have 4 here. That's because Constantinople has a 3 fort level, so it's going to take longer to take them over. And even though it says I have, what, 3,800, so this will increase to 4 fairly shortly. So now, let's finish our battles down here. So if you remember, we had, we're now at war with both Serbia and Bosnia, because they were allies of our good buddies, the Byzantines. Notice they're trying to siege our land, but there's not too much they can do about it right now, unfortunately for them. So what we're really doing right now is getting into position to take over enemy territory. So I have, what are these? Not much of anything. So I'm going to split up my troops a bit, just to give us a bit more land here. I guess we'll start sieging Serbia, just to get them off our backs. So right now we have a bunch of sieges going on. Kill some more guys. What our main concern is taking over Constantinople and then denying them from sieging our lands. So let's increase the speed a bit. If you notice on the war screen here, so you can only, so we could end this battle now if we wanted, we don't want to. You'll only be able to keep land that you've already successfully sieged. So you have to at least siege lands that you want to keep. Meanwhile, over in the rest of this land here, we need we're also taking extra land. So these are also part of the Byzantines. We'll switch to political here so you can see it easier. So once we take all of the Byzantines' lands, as long as they're the war leader, which they are, we will get 100% here. So we'll be able to end the battle then. Even if we haven't taken Serbia and the rest of that. If we wanted to take some land from Serbia, we could do that, but mainly I'm just running interference until this battle's over with. So these are some more of the random events, letting us know bad things that can happen. And we successfully converted one of our chunks of land. Alright, move on to the next one. These are rebel forces. Notice they just popped up. Athens must be having issues with rebels. So due to our overwhelming force numbers, we don't have to worry too much about... so we just got some rebels. So, due to our overwhelming force issues, we don't have to worry too much about, like, the terrain. So if we go back to terrain map mode, none of these are mountains, even though Greece is actually a very mountainous place. But none of these are mountains at the moment. However, like up here, these are actually more like large hills now. These are definitely mountains. You get massive negative modifiers in the middle of battle. So just remember that if you're fighting around this area, if you think that you should easily be able to take over the enemy, you're probably not going to be able to if it's in the mountains, unless you have significantly superior forces. So Constantinople is almost finished. We've just taken, down here. That frees up these troops. So notice the quick splitting. We can, took Constantinople. Notice how the war score changed. So this was our war goal, which if you mouse over this shows us all the battles we've won and how that changes the war score. And finally, way down at the bottom, we control Constantinople now, which gives us a plus 25 to our war score. We're going to wait until we get 100% so we can take all of their land. I'm moving him over because if you notice here, this is where the port is. So I'm not actually blockading this right now. So my ships were just sitting here doing nothing. So by moving them over... just took a sea battle. So now 100% blockade. And I'll split him again to go up here. So now he can blockade Athens as well. Now we've conquered Athens. So now we've taken over all this area. Actually, that should be 100%. What other land do they have? Any islands? Oh, they have Cyprus. I'm surprised. I didn't think they had that already. Alright, let's go grab Cyprus. Actually. So this is how we load troops. So notice the button here. So it puts a ship icon next to them. Lets them know that you are now attached to these ships. So we have up to 5, so we could move up to 5 units. We're only going to take the minimum because they probably, actually no, they do have +1. Well, heck with that. Let's go back to Constantinople and take it there. So we're going to attach our ships. And actually we have up to 9 units, which is nice. And for a quick look, notice this, it'll be hard to see for you, but there's a little hammer. This lets you know that while they're here, every month that passes, they'll be repaired. So they'll increase, it's usually 10% unless you have some of these naval buildings here, which notice it increases the ship repair. So it's usually 10% if you don't have anything. So once again, we're now... So how invading over the sea works is that if you don't own the land, you have to click on transport here, which selects your transported units, and then you click on the territory, and they slowly invade over the sea. There's a significant negative modifier, so if they have troops here, even a fairly small amount, it can be very difficult to invade an island nation that has troops overseas. So it's a very defensive position. And now we need to blockade their port. So let's see what's going on over here. Nothing much. So some rebels, if you notice, just showed up in the area we had already taken. These are peasant nobles, so they're probably caused by something the Serbians did rather than us. But if like nationalists or something like that show up, that means it was they're responding. So if you notice here, it's 4.2%. Let's see the occupied modifier down there. Makes it more likely that like nationalists will show up. You can actually look at that fairly a little easier right here. So patriots, nationalists, etc. So we've taken most of Serbia now. So I'll show you a bit about how you can break up alliances. Go over there. So somebody else just declared war against Serbia. Unfortunately, they can't occupy land that we've already taken. So kind of sucks to be them. They're probably just waiting for us to leave. And let's see, how is this going? Almost done. So they're trying to give us a peace offer. Bosnia's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We've had way enough of this. So let's see what they want. They will annul their treaties with the Byzantium, which we don't really care about. And they'll give us... So that is not very good for us. However, so here's how we do a separate peace deal. So I don't actually want Bosnia right now because it's not attached to my land. So you right click on them, go to diplomacy, sue for peace. So this is our war score. If it's positive, that means it's in our favor. It's negative, it's in their favor. So I don't actually want any land. And what I do want is, well, actually I have a bunch of prestige now from winning all those battles. So I don't need that either. So I'm just going to, let's see. Oh, and they have no money. Well, that's unfortunate. There's not much I can do about them right now. I could transfer trade power, but they don't actually have any trade power in my area. I could make them a vassal, which they'll accept, which that's not too horrible, actually. Let's do that. So that gives us quite a bit of aggressive expansion when we vassalize another nation. So, however, what that does is it creates a situation. Notice the little vassal thing. So right now they're not very happy with us, obviously. We will improve their relations after a bit of time passes, and we can send another diplomat. Now we're at 100%. Excellent. I am still going to wait a short amount of time. So once you occupy it, it's treated as one of yours for now, so you can move ships in there. Much easier to move troops around. We're going to wait for this because we're going to take over Serbia as well. Now note, this will make a lot of people very unhappy with us, which for right now is fine because I'm just showing you how this works. But if everything goes as planned, we'll get a enemy alliance after us, which I can show you how that works. Let's speed up time a bit faster. Alright, so our siege is over with. So notice the blue, this means it's an ally. So Bosnia is now, let's improve our relations. Bosnia is now our vassal, which means they report to us, we're in charge of them. We get a chunk of their money, so let's look up here now to subjects. We get 0.13 per month from them. So they have to pay us a chunk of, so 65% of their monthly tax to us. So we're getting some extra money every month now from Bosnia. In addition, every war we get into, they have to help us. So we can, over time, actually we probably can't directly take them over because they're not our religion. But if they were, we'd be able to absorb them into our nation right now. So, moving on. And we can also, we have some extra options now. We can free them and do things like that, but we don't have to worry about that at the moment. And if they're not happy with us, they can always try to break free, which they're really not powerful enough to do. So, let's end this war. Serbia, so we can either use this big button here is for the whole alliance. So we can take land from both of them. However, if we want even more land, we do that separately. So let's talk to Serbia. We're like, well, so notice full annexation is based on tax value and how many provinces there are. So Serbia is fairly small, so we can literally take everything from them. In addition, we could also force them to release certain nations as separate states. So this would, so right here would turn into a new nation. That's a good way to spend war score if you're already past what you need. So like if you were to take over Hungary, you might be able to take smaller chunks out of it if you only wanted a couple provinces, just to burn more war score. And it makes the people you release very, very happy with you. And finally, you can have them break some treaties. So we can make them a vassal. Conceding defeat is just a good way to get plus 10 prestige. Nothing really changes hands. Or we could force them to give us money, which we don't need. So finally, let's, I said, be a bunch of jerks and take over all their land. Aragon has entered a military coalition. Wonderful. So now we've gained all this land, and actually let's grab the Ottomans too. Oh, we have no diplomats. Wow, the Serbians already went dislike us. Well, of course they do. So notice here what's going on. Let's lower the speed a bit. So several neighbors are now entering military coalitions. So they're saying we are a threatening enemy. Let's get it. Okay, we now have a diplomat free. Let us finish with the Byzantines. So we are taking all their land. So now we'll want to core this. So notice how it takes admin points. Well, actually, let's look at all of this. So we have some issues now. Notice we've just taken a bunch of land. Let us go back to stability and expansion. Overextension. So every time you take a chunk of land, it increases this overextension. So let's look at here. So every chunk of land you have that is not a core province increases your overextension. So you have to core these in order to reduce this, or you get some significant modifiers. The most important one being revolt risk, which increases a significant deal. So let's start burning our admin power and coring stuff. So this is one of the main reasons you slow expansion, or to make expansion slower, is what it takes to core these provinces. So actually it's a little faster just to do it this way. Notice the smaller ones give less overextension. And we can do all of them. All but Serbia, because it's currently being attacked. So once that battle ends, so now let's look at what this has done for our diplomacy, which is not many favors. So, in case you did, so I clicked here to go here, and if you hold down the shift key and then click somewhere else, you'll make a path. So you can keep doing this all over the place to make a different paths of travel you want to take. So let's take a look at our neighbors. So notice this this alliance with the sword. They're in a coalition against the Ottomans, which is us. So if we look here, so if we go to our country, it'll show this a little more detail. So all these nations here, Ragusa, Wallachia, Hungary, Aragon, Urbino, Georgia, and I cannot even pronounce that. Anywho, all these nations here, if we declare war on any of these, so if we were to declare war on this little tiny, well, even Ragusa is even smaller, this one little nation here, if we were to declare war on them, all those other nations would declare war on us at the same time. In addition, if any of them declare war on us, they will all, well, most of them, more than likely, will join in as well. So they can actually be offensive as well as defensive alliances. And notice the high revolt risks in all of these areas. As you're coring them, and it also increases the nationalism. So for right now, we would not want to basically do many adventures at the moment, simply because they are, it's going to cause us, we're going to have a lot of revolt issues right now until we get this situation resolved and all these provinces cored. However, after they are finished coring, they will now be part of our own lands, and that is a wonderful thing. And our nation will have expanded, and we will be, let's go back. As you can see, the nation has expanded, and we will, after all that's done, we've gained some more points back, we can now start attacking some of these smaller nations to build ourselves up. And however, as I mentioned before, none of these people are very happy with us right now. So we have to be careful, or we can get into a large war that we won't be able to win. And that is basically how EU4 warfare works. Periods of expansion by consolidation. And as a final note, you'll notice Athens is now a vassal of us. That's because they were a vassal of the Byzantines, and since we took over 100% of the Byzantines, they now become our vassal as well. So that's about it. I know this was a long one, but this is an overview of how warfare works in EU.